Are those real books behind you, or is that a backdrop?
That's a backdrop.
People are doing things, and they're really pulling the wool over my eyes here, because I think that I know where you are, but I don't at all. You're just above. You're actually in my real home.
I'm in the next room.
You're next door.
As I always have been, of course.
Yeah. Yes, of course. Thank you for following me around.
Well, somebody's got to do it.
Yes, I need training.
This is kind of a double-sided film here. It's a disaster movie. Have you ever been through a tornado? I know you grew up in Ohio.
Well, I grew up in Ohio and New Jersey and Chicago, but no, I have not. However, I have been on the receiving end when one of my friends was in Shreveport, Louisiana, and going through a hurricane, and they were ducked behind a kitchen counter while I watched the hurricane explode the sliding glass doors around them. That was the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. And that helplessness and thought that I had no ability to do anything. I was in Los Angeles, it was a game changer for me, an understanding of that helplessness that is felt during a disaster. And now, since I've done this movie, I've done another disaster film as well called Supercell. It is heartbreaking and terrifying to be in the midst of that. I think one of the things Lindsay wanted to do is honor the people who go through it. I think that's what makes this movie different. You're really looking at the characters. There are about 6 different stories that intertwine here, and you're looking at these people who we get involved with. We get to fall in love with them. We want them to get through their struggles, and then the disaster happens.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the unique things, to bring humanity to what could be considered, and it is a Hollywood disaster movie. Yes, it's a tornado film, and it has all those bells and whistles. But what it has at its soul is something different, and that's what we give Lindsay Gosling, a lot of credit for, being able to merge those two things, a disaster movie with really a human drama.
Talk to me a little bit about your character, because I think you're playing a little against type.
I think one would say, what is my business? Heather always said, I was the ground zero patient, basically, for getting canceled. So what? Patient zero, ground zero. I'm sorry, that's a different thing. 9/11, and excuse me, everyone who heard that. God bless you. And by the way, God bless everyone. But, I went through a lot for standing up for equal rights, the right to love who you want to love without judgment. And it is because of that I embrace these movies. I don't have to be the popular character. I wasn't popular 20 years ago, but I still am saying the same thing. We should be in a place that is a little bit further. I'm glad that I was a part of that, of leading that march. But the steps aren't finished, and that's why stories like this are still made. When Lindsay comes to me and asks me to take the brunt of the burden of something that I probably wouldn't necessarily agree with, I challenge myself to do that. I do not judge my characters, although sometimes some are harder to get over than others, so that I can allow the story to be seen. We are all in a 50-50 conflict. Nobody is on one side that's right and one side that is not. So in being able to play a character like Tammy, I hope to illuminate the choice that we make. And everybody is making a different choice in this movie within 13 minutes. But to illuminate a choice that seems unpopular, that's when people can get riled to take that next step into equality. And that's what I'm about. Anything I can do to help engage in that pool of conscious thinking about others and allowing them to be their most fabulous selves based on what they want for their lives. That's what love is about, not the way we want to be loved. Love is about declaring for another what they want is what we want for them.
Yeah, I think if more people role played like this, we'd understand it. Would understand the other side of the story.
Would not be an interesting. Now, there's an interesting game for everyone to play at home. Try being the other side for a minute. Yeah. And by the way, that is part of what my acting is about. Try being the other side without just a little bit of judgment, right? Because if I bring just a little bit of judgment, then it doesn't give people the opportunity to make the choice. I have to choose to go into the other side to understand and have compassion for those two. Because if I don't have the compassion, then how on earth am I going to ask somebody else to?
Do you carry pieces of roles that you've played with you? I mean, are they part of you from then on?
You're looking at them. Or you could say, you can look at my wall.
Well, there you go.
Say, wow, what's that? Well, every single place I go, I get a treasure, and usually it comes in a picture, and I hang them on a wall because they all are a part of me. As I expand my conscious thinking, I expect that others do theirs, but I got to do it first. If I say to my children, listen, let's open up ourselves to what other people might think, because that is the foundation for conscious thinking. They're like, oh, I don't really want to. Well, you know what? That's how we heal the world. We're 100% here, folks. We're not 50 me and 50 you. We're all in it together. And to try to take that whole entire world is what I do. So it's all on my face. Every place I've gone, I create family. I love what I do. And every single part and role has been a part of my healing process as well, because acting goes from the inside out.
It does. I mean, it's one of those things, unless you are an actor, you can't explain that to people. They just don't get it.
Well, I mean, I don't know. On Better Together with Ann and Heather, we try to talk about that, what that means, on the why do we tell stories? We tell stories to connect in the pool of who we all are. And that, to me, is a shortcut to understanding what compassion means.
Do you learn something from every set you're on?
Hell yeah. And every single person that I meet. I always say that the mistake is in the messenger. So every time I start to look at my life, well, no, that Uber canceled. Whatever it is, whatever small detail it is, the Uber canceled. Oh, what's that mean? Oh, for me, it's usually like, oh, I have a second to make that call that I didn't want to make before. There's always an opening of how we look at and see life, and people in my life that I am so blessed to be able to work with. The hundreds and hundreds of people that I've been able to work with and see put themselves into making these stories as brilliant as they are, as Lindsay Gosling's is, and 13 Minutes is blowing people away. And I had the opportunity to be there. They're all a part of a collection of my
Well, you've got such a great cast, Thora Birch,
such
and
a beautiful
Grace,
cast.
And
I mean, every one of them. Yes, incredible. I think that was really important to Lindsay. I mean, casting is important to any director for sure. But when you're talking about 6 different stories that have to interact and intertwine, you have to believe them all. You have to embrace them all. And they're all going through a huge conflict on some level or another in front of the conflict that's about to happen. That takes some balls, and I really appreciate her for doing that. I think people are responding, and they're going to really enjoy it if you get into a theater and you get to watch with community. We haven't been able to have that happen since COVID, and now the theaters are opening up, and I really do encourage people to go, because there were very many special effects teams that worked their butts off. We finished this right before COVID, and now it's able to come out in theaters, and I would highly recommend going and see it with all its bells and whistles.
In our final moments that we have together, you talked about Supercell. That looks like it's going to be a big one too.
Oh my goodness sakes! I would say Jim, superhero, or I would say is Spielberg, and he's really trying to do a film that takes us back to the moments when things used to happen, in really 2 different ways of filmmaking. These 2 films could not have been more different. However, that's part of the joy of my job, that I get to have all of these different experiences, bringing them to an audience.
And Heche, I adore you. I mean, I'm coming out there and I'm going to cook for you. I
thought you were next door. I thought I was going to come on over for some lunch.
I'm in the kitchen and I'm making seared tuna for you right now.
Oh, well, actually, that sounds absolutely terrific. That's going to be my dinner.
Thank you so much for your time. And I really do. I love you. You are just a terrific human being.
Thank you. I so appreciate that. You made my day. Thank you.
Bye-bye, sweetie.